Welcome to another Ronald Diltz II podcast. Hopefully and prayerfully you all are doing well this wonderful day as you are listening to this new session. It's been an epic season. I will be honest, it's been an epic season. And hopefully you all have been enjoying every episode that's been dropped this year. I do things a little different with this, of course, podcast, whereas I change and call each season, move up through the numbers and call it season 1, season 2, season 3, so forth. With this one, it's just basically adding on those episodes. So it's been truly a blessing this year, and all the wonderful interviews I've been blessed to have. I feel like I haven't done a session of my own in a little while because I've been busy interviewing. So that's a blessing all in itself. And these interviews have been such a blessing to my journey, to my growth. And they inspire and encourage me to keep going, to keep moving forward. And so my only goal and hope for this podcast is that it do the same for you. All right. If it's doing it for me, it should hopefully and prayerfully be doing it for you. So I thank you so much for your support and for all you have been doing. We have a few more great podcasts episodes we want to do for this season. And when I say few, it's probably at least about 5 or 6 that are coming our way. And so I'm super excited. I'm excited to be doing an episode myself, podcast episode myself. And I was just like, wow, coming into this, I was like, oh, what am I going to say? What am I going to talk? And I had to write up my script because it's been a little while. I may have gotten rusty, so I apologize. You know what I'm saying? But I'm super pumped and excited. So the name of this podcast will be called, you ready for this? The Brutal Weight. All right. The Brutal Weight. Okay. All right. Let me get that lion roar on that one. Yeah. The Brutal Weight. All right. So, some quick updates too before we jump in. So I told you about what's going on with the Ronald Diltz II podcast. Yes, we're going to be jumping back in again around this time next year and doing that particular year. And as we call each year as its own season, we'll be jumping back in next year. So we have a few more great episodes that we're going to do now. I'm sorry I have to, take a break from the Ronald Diltz II podcast. As you all know, I got to get back to writing. It's been a while. The podcast, it takes over. It really does. Doing the promotions and all that great stuff. It's a lot of fun, but it takes over that time that I would usually write. So of course, naturally, I'm excited to get back into that writing season. And this usually motivates me when it comes to getting back to writing. Now, God, Family, Business podcast, for those that have been following that show, all right, with me and my queen, Monique Diltz, all right, we're coming back this year where we usually would release in the earlier part of the year. We're now going to release in the fall. So we didn't have a release this year because we were saving it for the fall. All right. And so a lot of juicy things that we got to discuss what's been going on our end when it deals with our faith journey, of course, our family, and of course, our business. So it's a really great podcast. If you haven't checked it out, it's called God, Family, Business Podcast. Make sure you support. A lot of great episodes. I think we're going into season 4 this year. So we've been doing that. That was our first baby, our first podcast that we really got rolling, and it pretty much motivated all the podcast shows to come. You know what I'm saying? So just to give you that update. Now, my goal, as you all have heard through some episodes, I've been on this really great health journey with my wife, who kind of is pretty much spearheaded that health journey and really changed my whole world when it comes to my health and the way I live moving forward. And so we've been doing a lot of great work, and I'm super excited and been encouraging her that we need to go ahead and get her very own podcast show. So be on the lookout for that. I'm hoping and praying we'll be able to launch that in January, which is why we had to move God Family Business Podcast back to the fall so we can start the beginning of the year focusing on our health, all right, and our well-being. And so be on the lookout for that. That's going to be the Monique Diltz podcast. We hoping to launch early next year. In that first quarter of the year is my goal. So y'all pray with me on that. I got to encourage my wife to let's go. Let's get this going. But it's really amazing the work that she's doing and the work that she's already done in my life to encourage me on my health journey. So it's just a gift from God to be able to not only get my health in order, and I'm still a work in progress, but I'm off of medications, y'all. I'm off of medications. And we just have to share it with the world. You know, when God does something amazing in your life, he does it so we can share it with the world. So make sure you remember that whenever you're going through something, don't keep that stuff to yourself. Okay. When you get through, sometimes we have to go through things quietly. So I totally understand. There's some things we're going through quietly right now, but once God get us through, you better believe it's going to be another story to tell. Okay. And so that's what's so exciting and important about that. So we got to share our health journey. So that's what we will be doing. We've been hosting programs. We're in a program season right now that we're wrapping up. Actually, this Father's Day weekend, we're actually wrapping up our third program, which is like super amazing. And when it comes to these programs, just to give you kind of an update on that, it's pretty much where we host pretty much a raw vegan fast, and we pretty much so of course we send out that invite, we promote it and all that great stuff, and anybody that want to try the fast with us, they're able to. Okay. And so it's a really great opportunity to give your body a nice detox, and it's been life-changing. I've already lost on this particular fast. This was the one that was probably the biggest one on the program side. Of course, when me and Monique originally started this journey, we just did it without a program and I say we threw ourselves to the sharks. We just jumped right in the middle of the ocean, and we're just trying to learn this journey, going raw fruits and vegetables and learning this journey. I lost so much weight in that first process. And I want to say this was the first time my body was going through, I'm sure, a shock, because it's like, wait, you're not giving me meat. You're not giving me cooked food. What is going on? Where's the oils? And so it went through a shock. So I dropped like 17 pounds, y'all, in the first time that we did this journey. And so to see that transformation, I was just like, it changed my whole world. I was like, yo, and we had to cut back on my medications, and to the point that we had to cut it out altogether because my blood work was doing so well. And so it's definitely a lot of work to be done. So be on the lookout for the Monique Diltz podcast. If you want to learn more about the great work God is using Monique to do, not only in my life, but in the world. I always say that, in the world. You can check her out at MoniqueDiltz.com. All right. You can check her out at MoniqueDiltz.com. All right. So that's my little pitch, my little spiel, all right, of what's coming, all the great updates. So let's get into this episode, though, the brutal weight. All right. The brutal weight. I feel like I don't just talked a whole lot, so y'all bear with me. So the brutal weight. So a few weeks ago, I had some great reflection. Actually, it was longer than this. I forgot I had to update this. It was actually now a few months ago, because I'm just getting around to check this out. But it was a couple months ago, actually. I had some really great reflection time. All right. Reflection time is always great for the journey. All right. Because you get to reflect on the journey God has brought you through. Okay. This gives you a really deeper appreciation, okay, about your life and your purpose. If you're worried about the future, think about everything God has already did for you. All right. So this is a really great point that I started with, because that's pretty much my life. You know what I'm saying? I'm always thinking about, oh man, we're in this situation now. How are we going to get out of this situation? Or how are we going to pay this bill? Or how are we going to be able to pay the car bill or the house bill? We're constantly always asking and wondering, how are we going to be able to do this and do that? When naturally, what happened? God has already did a lot of these things already. Your bills were paid last month. You had food last month. Your kids are able to eat. Your kids are able to go to school. Your kids are able to take lunch. It's so many things that we can look at and be grateful and thankful and know that God is the reason that a lot of those things all those things really are getting done. Okay. So it's really great to reflect. And I deal with this a lot because I'm in a season. This is why this episode has come about. But I'm in a season where I'm waiting. I'm waiting on God. All right. And we always have the saying that God is always faithful to us, even when we're not faithful to him, because there's a lot of things we do that God, I know, is not pleased. I know, maybe I'm just talking about myself. Okay. There's a lot of things we do that God, I know, is not pleased. And so, but even on top of that, he's still faithful to us. He still gives us food. He still provides for us. He still protects us from this crazy world that we live in. And he's still there. He gives us a roof over our head, a vehicle to drive. I mean, we have so much to be grateful for. Fresh air to breathe, parks to go walking. You know what I'm saying? These are some things that I love. But we're so blessed to be able to be alive and be here and be healthy in this season. And so in this waiting season, I'm finding myself holding on to those memories that God has already given me. You know, memories of the productions that he's allowed me to produce, memories of the scripts that he's allowed me to write, memories of the people that I was able to connect with and be able to do some really great works that I was so proud about. And so I'm holding on to those wonderful memories in this season, because now is a season where I haven't necessarily produced something that I would usually produce, whether it's a film or play productions. Those usually are my babies that I love to produce. And to the point now, I'm finding myself where I'm not even inspired to write. Can you believe that? I'm not even inspired to write. I used to write just to pull away from the world. I used to write. That was my way to relax and pull away from the world. Now I'm finding myself whereas writing seems more like work. You know what I'm saying? And it's really crazy when you start to feel like that about something that you have loved for so long, since you've started writing, you know? And so that's where I am in life. I'm trying to get back motivated with the writing. Now, I will say this, I miss the stage so much. I miss acting. I miss movies, making movies and being in front of the camera. A lot of people always, wonder what is your favorite if you had to choose one. Writing, of course, is a big favorite because I can always sit in my room and my office, and I can get lost in the script. When I'm on my groove, I'm on my groove. I just create these crazy stories, I would call them. But the one that I've been doing the most, the longest, I would say, not the most, but the longest, is acting. Okay, I've been acting the longest. All right, so that is usually the one thing where I'm finding myself where I'm in like a fog about where to move forward. With my gifts and with my craft. If I'm able to get myself in a production, of some sort, I usually can get that fire back burning through that experience. And so I'm in that place now where I'm actually a part of a wonderful show that my dance choreographer, yes, you heard me right, my dance choreographer from church, that I've been in the dance ministry for years now. But she's always, Miss Terry Burns, I'm gonna give her a shout out. She always hosts a lot of great shows. And these shows are just to kind of show some major love, into the world, to give us something to pull away from, whether we're going through something in our lives. This is a really great way to pull away from that things and to enjoy a great show. And so she's doing a show about Motown, believe it or not. And I was blessed to be a part of it. And my parents are part of it. My sister is in it. It's the first time all four of us are going to be on stage together. And it's just epic, I think. My parents and I have worked on a lot of stuff. They've been in my plays. They've been in my films. And so it's really great that we having this wonderful opportunity to be a part of this wonderful experience. So, but guess what? That has lit the fire in me. So I'm just like so pumped. I'm like, man, I'm ready to get back to work on some of my projects. You know what I'm saying? Whenever I'm doing something like this, but it's always great to have that moment where you can pull away. If you're a producer, director, you can pull away and just get in the acting seat or get behind the scenes and let someone else lead and you just follow. It's so, to me, it's amazing because I'm just always learning and growing and taking notes, in those experiences. And so, but that's the season I'm in right now. And it's been a while since I've been able to be on a production like this, where I'm actually acting, I'm actually dancing, pretending like I'm singing, because I'm not singing in this, but I'm pretending like I'm singing. But it's exciting to have this experience. So I'm super pumped. That show is going to be later this month. It's going to be super exciting in Orlando, Florida. If you want more details, definitely reach out, let me know, and I can definitely get you those details. It's going to be one day, June 29th. Don't quote me. Actually, I have the flyer here. Let me pull the flyer up since I'm promoting the show here. Yes, June 29th. I was right. It's going to be a 2 p.m. show and a 7 p.m. show on that Saturday. Hopefully I release this episode prior, right? So in case you're listening and want to check it out. But yeah, I'm super excited, to be on stage again. And I know that is lighting the fire. I said, God has a purpose for everything. So he's getting my feet back wet, and I'm super excited where he's going to lead me next. So talking about these performances and all the great things, one thing that I used to do, and I'm still going to do this, whenever I have more productions, but I used to always have this goal for every production I would do. And it started more so, well, it started with the plays, but it was like much of a smaller poster. So I used to I print every poster for every film, every play. And these posters are framed, or they're laminated and put up, somewhere around the house. Of course, back then it was the apartment. But I will have these movie posters and play posters up, and it'll be my inspiration. You know what I'm saying? Just to remind me of the journey God has brought me through. So now these posters are, of course, up, in the home we live in. And they're up more so in my kind of like my movie theater room area. And it's just a constant reminder. And sometimes I don't always get to look at them. But every time I pass by them going through the stairs, it's kind of like, wow, back then I was doing that. I can't wait to see what's next, and that's how we're always thinking. But you get to hold on when you have those projects or things like that you can print something or you can save something from those items. You're able to hold on to those memories. And that's what these posters do for me. So it's nothing like having a new movie and getting one of my great designers to design a poster, give me that poster. I fall in love with it. And I'm just super excited to see the credits on it and all that great stuff. And then to be able to print that poster and actually have that poster outside of the movie theater when you do your film premiere. That same poster go home with you. You frame it, you get it framed, and then you're able to put it on your wall. It's nothing like that for me. And so that's always exciting, every production, to be able to do that. And so those posters remind me, of course, of that experience. It reminds me of the journey that God has already brought me on. And, you think about it, hey, if God did that back then, he can do it again. You know what I'm saying? He can do it again when he's ready and when he feels that I'm ready, of course, because things are a lot different now. But while reflecting, on that particular week, while I was reflecting, I came across something special, very special. I came across some old DVDs of some of the first plays that I was blessed to produce. Okay. These plays were produced back in my theater days while studying theater at the University of Florida. Back then I used to want to just be an actor. All right. Can you imagine that? Until God revealed to me the art of writing and directing. And he did that in a special way. He really did. But writing always allowed me to reflect over my life, the situations that were going on around me. Writing was always something that I could pull away to do. You know what I'm saying? And so back then in the UF days, it was just, I was just so into acting. And then believe it or not, one day I'm coming home, from a rehearsal or just coming home from the gym somewhere. I don't remember. It's been a while. But I'm coming home and I'm hearing my roommate at the time. He's just into this show and he's laughing, and I'm hearing this. It's like it sounded like a play, that he was watching, and he's just laughing. He's cracking up, and I'm just like, yo, what are you watching? It's gotten you so funny. And I'm hearing some of the lines. I'm like, what's going on? And so he started telling me about this play, and it's this It's this producer, writer, director, actor by the name of Tyler Perry, who's in this show. And so he's pretty much watching this, and this was probably one of Tyler's, maybe one of his first shows. It was on VHS, to tell you. And so I'm just looking at it like, wow, wait, he's the writer, director, and he's acting in this play, and he produced it. And so I was just blown away by that. And so, of course, that inspired me to like, how can I do that as an actor? You know what I'm saying? And so from that moment, just being so inspired by that and seeing that, I was inspired to want to try to figure out how I could write my own play, and didn't know I was going to do that at that moment, but I was given the opportunity a couple days later when the opportunity came to me about what would I want to do for Black History Month during this season. And I told him I wouldn't mind seeing a play, a really great play. I wouldn't mind, since it's Black History Month, and, I wouldn't mind, it being an African-American play, a Black play. And, I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to either star in it, or I wanted to be able to direct it. And I never thought I would be saying that, but in that moment, that's what I was feeling. And so, Muna Ingram, who was the director of Black History Month that year, me, her, and my wonderful great friend and brother, Aaron Washington, we were sitting in my dorm room having this discussion. And Muna said, I'm going to think about it. I'm going to give it some thought, and we'll talk more about it. And so she thought about it, and she came back to me and she said, Ron, I love your idea. I want to move forward, and I want you to run that. I want you to be over that program. And I'm just like, wait, whoa, like just dropped it in my lap. And so, and then she told me, you can pick a play that you would love to do, or listen to this. She said, you can write your own play. And I'm like, write my own play? I never thought I would be able to write my own play. I just thought about it. I was like, and I went back to seeing Mr. Tyler Perry doing his thing. I'm like, this sounds like it could be a really great idea. And so right away I thought about it. I don't know what it takes to get a play. I knew in high school, my drama teacher used to always have these amazing plays that she would do, that we would put on. And it was an experience or a process that you had to go through to get the rights to do that. And so I didn't know anything about that at this time. So I was just like, let me just probably go with just doing my own play. And that's what Muna was explaining. You'll have to get the rights if you do a play that's, from a playwright, that is not your own. And so then, not knowing anything about that, I decided to go on and write my own play. And the rest is history. No, it's not history. That was an experience. All right, definitely an experience, but it was such an amazing experience. And I knew that this was something that I wanted to do the rest of my life. And so that's what that experience did for me. And guess what? While I'm talking about all of this, I'm like, where am I going with this? Watch how God brings this back around. That was the DVD that I found, when I was doing my reflection time. It was that DVD of my first play. And I found my second play, and I don't think and I did find my third play. So I found all three of my first plays that were done years ago. I was just like, what? And so it just made everything come right back around. It was an emotional moment, like, whoa. And then I realized in that moment that I had been doing this. Now, I've been producing, writing, and directing for 20 years, over 20 years now. And then I had been acting for over 27 years. So I've been acting since high school, And so it was just all just coming back at me like, what a journey it has been for me. What a journey it has been. And to think that I'm still pushing forward, I'm still going. And it's not been just such an easy road for me. It's been times that I've wanted to give up and throw in the towel. And, I've talked about that before, in particular 2019. I think, not 2019, 2009. I think I said 2019 before, but it's 2009 when I found myself just in a really depressed state, of mind, and didn't know how I was going to move forward or what my purpose was in life while I was here on earth. I was just dealing with a lot because I found myself working jobs that I wasn't like, it wasn't, those jobs wasn't giving me life. They wasn't giving my life a purpose. And so I was really in a miserable place in that season of my life. And so looking back on that, I'm just like, wow, God, I'm glad I had to go through that, because guess what? Now I can share that. I can share that with you all. I can share that with the world. But it was a really hard time in my life, until I was able to get another film up in that season. And sometimes we go through that, in this brutal waiting process. We go through a lot of depression. We go through anxiety. We go through stress. We go through just how do we fit into this world? And I'm here to encourage you, to let you know that you're not alone, right? You're not alone. We all experience this sometimes in our lives, especially if you have a calling on your life. We experience these times where we just don't know where we fit in. And think about that for a second. You're having this moment where you feel like you don't belong or you don't fit in. Well, I'm here to tell you, you're different. That's why you don't fit in. You're different. That's why you don't belong, because you're chosen. That's why you're different. All right. You're chosen. You just have to trust God to show you the purpose he has for your life. All right. So to think about the journey that God has already brought me on. All right. I didn't even know how everything fell in place to produce those plays in those early years. I just knew I wanted to do these plays. I had these scripts that I had written, and I used to write. So that was my pull away. I used to just have my little composition notebook, and I would just lose my mind and just start writing. And so I don't know how any of those things got produced. It wasn't my money. All right. It was only God. God gave us resources. He showed us resources. He encouraged people to want to be a part of these productions. We didn't pay our actors, but they were students just like me and wanted to be a part of something great. And I'm just super excited that they stepped out on faith with me and trusted me with their time and with their journey. And we had a blast. We put on some really great shows in that season of my life. But think about all of that, being able to produce 3 plays before graduating. Now, I'm not even thinking about what I went through before these plays. I was studying engineering, and GPA was falling, and my heart was not there. Okay. My heart was not in that program and in the classes. It was really tough. Have you ever felt like that when something is just really tough? You don't feel like you belong. You don't have the energy to push forward. Those can be some really tough times until you figure out where you're supposed to be. And in this season, it got to the point I was still trying to push through the program. I'm like, I'm in my junior year. I'm going to try to stick this through. Okay. I'm not a quitter. That's how I was raised. I'm not a quitter. I'm going to push through. Okay. But it got to the point where I wasn't leaving the program. They ended up, basically in a sense, they told me my GPA had dropped so low that I now had to move on from the program. And so that was a really tough season, of course, in that moment as well, because now I'm just like, wow. So now I don't have a college that I can be a part of in this season. But Lord, behold, God had a plan. All right. God had a plan. There was a couple other colleges in this season that I basically, tried to get in. They all had waiting lists, but one particular department didn't have a waiting list, and they were ready for me to get started if I was ready to get started. And that was the theater department at UF. So thank you for my theater department at UF. They really, really changed my whole world by allowing me to, be able to get into their program so I can continue my education. And so that experience, all of that comes back to me being able to do my first play. This is showing you all that, hey, and myself, that when God closes one door, he has something bigger in store for you. All right. So the door was closed. I didn't close the door for the engineering program. They closed the door on me. I totally understand. Okay. Business is business. Okay. But that door was closed. So I had to move on and try to apply to some other schools. And Lord behold, the theater department was the only one that was open arms and ready to receive me. And it was me who was kind of like, I don't know if, because I know my parents wanted me to have a certain degree so I can have, make sure I get a job after college, where my heart was with theater the whole time. I knew mom and dad wanted me to have a certain degree. But kid you not, my parents came to see that first show while I was still studying engineering. They came to see a show that I was able to get a role in as an engineering major, believe it or not, a main stage show. And they were just blown away by how happy and excited I looked on stage, that they told me, hey, you may need to go ahead and consider just doing a degree in theater. And I'm just like, what? Stop playing. Now I'm a junior. Y'all want to tell me this? So all of that went into play. And then, of course, later hearing that, I had to move on. But God already had a plan. So I ended up moving on to, of course, the theater department, which led me to do my very own 3 shows. Also, a lot of plays with the theater department that I was a part of, but I was able to produce 3 of my own plays while studying theater. Talk about a life-changing experience. And so those DVDs allowed me to reflect on that journey. And believe it or not, talking about this now is making me reflect on some things that we're going through even in this season that we're in. All right. Particular situation, we were trying to get our oldest son. Listen to this. Check this out. We're trying to get our oldest son into a private school. He got already cleared for the funds, for the private school. He got a scholarship and everything. This is our first time. He's going on to kindergarten. So we're trying to try this journey out, but we're, looking at private if it can be paid, especially. Why not, But kid you not, the school that we thought we had applied to earlier on ended up saying we're on the waiting list, and didn't inform us. We didn't know. And so we're here scrambling, trying to figure out, well, what do we need to do? And so my wife is on the phone. She's calling all these other schools, trying to see if they had any openings or if we can get on the waiting list. And now we're here at the summer, right before school start, trying to scramble and figure it out, when we were already working on this at the beginning of the spring in March. Thought we had everything ready to go. We put all our ducks in one row. Of course, all of our eggs in one basket. I just made my own thing there. We put all our eggs in one basket and just knew that, hey, it was going to happen. But guess what? It didn't happen, at least not right now. And can you imagine how disappointed we were? My wife, especially, she was the one doing all the paperwork and doing everything to make sure everything was situated. We even had to pay $100, y'all. Okay, $100. Can you imagine giving $100 for the application? All right, just to hold a space. We paid $100, and I'm gonna be real with you. That was like our last $100 in that season, y'all. This was grocery money. All right, feeding a family of 5. This was grocery money, and so it was just really, really disappointing, to find out that, hey, we thought we were doing everything early. That we're still on this waiting list, and everybody has a waiting list now. We're finding that out. And so in this moment, of course, we're just like, wow, what do we do? We just feeling a certain way. And, of course we had to go right to asking God, you're going to have to show us what to do, Lord. We thought we were doing what we thought was right. And so now we're looking at, well, hey, let's make sure we just get them enrolled in the public school that we're zoned for, just to make sure he has a school just in case he doesn't get in. And so that's what we did. And right away, I tell you, I felt so much peace, just thinking that we're just moving forward with that. I told my wife, I was like, I don't know what it is, but I feel at peace about this, and just know that, if this is what God wants, no matter what we do, he's going to allow, he's going to lead us where he wants us to go. And so naturally, of course, we're still open. If one of the schools, and we say if God want him at a certain school, he's going to allow that school to contact us. And that's the way we looked at it. And so isn't that something though? Like what I went through in college kind of reminds me of what we're going through with my firstborn right now. Very interesting, right? Look how God does that. I'm telling you, everything has a purpose, and it's to teach you and prepare you for the future. I'm always talking about that because I'm seeing it in my own life. All right. And so think about that. All right. Thinking about that. So let's get on to the discussion part of this. So Giving up. So I talk about this. I don't know how I get my dates mixed up in 2019 when I was actually, I think, with my wife then. I don't know if we were married. Don't tell me, y'all. Don't tell on me. But yes, it wasn't 2019 when I was feeling off. It was 2009. Okay. My wife was here. I was living the dream when she came into the picture. All right. Of course. Right. But in 2009, I always talk about this, and here and there, I'm just finally kind of opening up, through the podcast about this. But in 2009, it was a really dark season of my life because I was working at a restaurant. I'm not gonna put them out, but I'm working at a restaurant at night as a door guy. During the day, I was a substitute teacher. And then I was also in this season of my life, I was still staying home with my parents. And now I'm in my 20s, y'all, pushing 30. So I'm just really depressed. Like, what is my purpose in life? What am I here for? And, the enemy started putting some crazy thoughts in your head, when you're at your lowest, that's the enemy, that's the enemy for you. And so I was really in a dark place. And, when I find myself in these dark places, God always sends someone or to ask me a simple question. And the simple question is, when is your next play? When is your next film? I haven't seen nothing in a while. And so immediately when I hear those questions, I hold on to those questions and I'm just like, okay, I can't give up. I got to keep going because, they're looking forward to seeing another show. And if they are looking forward, then I'm sure some other people are. And that's what usually would happen in these seasons. I found someone that want to know, how can they work on a production of mine, or how can they audition for a film, and so those questions I usually would hold on. And so think about that in your own life. What have you been fighting with when it comes to giving up? Think about that. Okay. Pushing forward. Okay, that's my next point on this. Pushing forward, we have to find things when we're feeling at our lowest. We have to find things that's going to help us push forward. Now I have a family that I got to provide for. So I have children I got to provide for. So naturally, that's if that ain't gonna push you forward, I don't know what else will. You know what I'm saying? But before kids, you know what I'm saying, and you find yourself, in a low point or finding yourself needing motivation, it's always great to put yourself around people that are doing what you love to do and what you have a passion for. So if you're a filmmaker, hang around other filmmakers, and that is going to inspire you. I promise you. It's something about, even working at Full Sail, when we have our Hall of Fame every year. I'm not always able to get out there because of the kids, but I had my original, when I first started working at Full Sail, I was a part of that. I was in it, being a part of the department I was part of. I was in it. We were hands-on into that amazing event, as we call it. And just being in that atmosphere would always inspire me. I would always want to work on something because I'm being inspired by other filmmakers and other artists who are doing great in their industry. And then you're on campus and you just feel the energy of all your other colleagues. You're feeling the energy of all the students, and that energy just makes you want to create, you know what I'm saying? And so it's just a beautiful time. So I say that when you are finding yourself down, do something or get around people that are passionate about the same type of things that you're doing, and step another step further and hold each other accountable. Sometimes that's a great way to move forward, is you hold each other accountable. They hold you accountable about a project you're working on and vice versa. And so a lot of times that can also help you get out of that fog that you're in. All right. Pushing forward, also something that I love to do whenever I watch a movie. I'm inspired whenever I watch a TV series and just taking on a whole TV series. It just excites me. I want to write. I haven't been inspired to write in quite some time. And this week I started watching another new TV series that's on Netflix called Eric. I highly recommend it. I have one more episode, but it grabbed my attention and I've been so into it and just been watching it. And so watching that TV show has inspired me to like, hey, I want to do some writing today. And so I was able to get at least one scene in today, but that was exciting because I haven't been inspired to write in a few weeks now. And so you have to do things that are going to inspire you to want to write. You got to watch things. If you're into writing, you have to watch things or read things that's going to inspire and light that fire. And so that's what's very important. Counting my blessings. Counting my blessings has definitely saved my butt a lot, especially when I'm in that down or I feel like I'm in a down season or I'm depressed. And it's very rare when I'm like this. So when I'm like this, it's got to be something that's just really like bothering me. Or I'm just like no motivation at all. That is not my character. And usually it's when I'm sick too, to be honest. And I don't get sick often. So when I am sick, I'm just like, I feel so lazy. That's definitely depressing because you can't do anything. You want to do more for yourself. You want to create, you want to work, you know what I'm saying? And so it sucks when you can't do the things that you love. I love even teaching and being able to connect with my students. When I'm not able to do that, that bothers me too. You know what I'm saying? And so we have to count our blessings though. Look around you, count your blessings. Are you living in a home or do you have a roof over your head? That's a blessing. Are you able to work every day? That's a blessing. All right. Do you have food on your table? That's a blessing. Are you doing something that you enjoy and love? That's a blessing. So we have to be able to, one, count our blessings so we can move forward. All right. You have to count the blessings that God has already given you and look at even just the journey of being able to produce 3 plays before graduating from University of Florida with a theater degree. All right. And this was back then. I'm producing plays while normal students just go to school. God allowed me and lit the fire in me to produce plays that I have written, I saw writing. I started writing in a notebook, transferred it over to the computer, typed it up and printed that out and had auditions and picked actors for this. I mean, this was me back then, you know what I'm saying? At the age of 18, 19, I'm doing these things, 20. God is allowing me to do these things at such a young age. All right. So it's never you're never too old to move forward. But I just think about that, like, wow, I was doing these at that age. So the setup. So a lot of times God prepare us for the setup, and we're in the setup, just like a film script, right? When I was writing this point, I was like, this reminds me of a film script. I'm in the setup right now. So he's setting you up for that great blessing that is on its way. He's setting you up so he can fulfill that purpose that he has for your life. He's setting you up to be able to move forward with that business. He's setting you up to be able to get that promotion from your company. So he's setting you up. So a lot of times in that waiting season, God is setting us up. He's showing us so much that we should be focusing on instead of focusing on other things. But he's showing us that, hey, you can depend on me. All right. I'm the one that's providing for you. I'm the one that's giving you all these things that you desire. You can depend on me. So he's teaching you to trust him with everything. In this season, I got to the point where I was just like, and here and there, you may, as a filmmaker, we're always looking for gigs because we want to work. We want to be on set. And of course, you want to make money, extra money. But I had got to the point where I was just like, I'm not going to spend too much stress and time trying to look for jobs, if God want me to have these jobs, he'll send them my way. And so that's where I am in this season. And my wife, believe it or not, those that know our story, she had to step away from her career to be the caregiver for our firstborn because he was, born with some complications, when he was born. And so she had to step away. And that was a faith journey for us, for her to come to me and say, hey, I would like to step away and from my career and just focus on our son. And so really tough time, but the fire lit in me to say, hey, okay, if that's what you want to do, my love, let's move forward and trust God will work it out. Easier said than done, right? In that moment. But guess what? God has worked it out. We're still here. We're still in our home. We still have our vehicle to drive. Our kids have more things than I can ever imagine. And so God has just been blowing our minds. Yes, I have a script there. I know what you're thinking. Yes, trust me, I'm working on it. But it's been quite a journey. We've been so blessed in this season that we're in. And you can't help but to think about, of course, all the blessings, counting those blessings, but thinking about how God is setting us up to be able to, one, share our story and our journey with the world, but setting us up to really, really know where our gifts come from, to really know and understand where our blessings come from, and to know where He's about to take us, that only He can take us there, and only He can get us there and give us that blessing. And so we're being set up for that blessing. So think about that. You're in your season right now. You're being set up. And I want you to think about it. Think about what God is trying to teach you in that moment. And I've learned so much. I'm still learning. Trust me. You never should stop learning. I'm still learning about this journey with God. All right. And so now things are a lot different because I'm in my new life, as I call it. I have a wife, okay? Amazing wife. Let me put that out there. Amazing wife, all right? Okay, you better ask somebody. And then we have these amazing gifts that we call kids from above, as we call it. And so things can be totally different when you add in a spouse in the mix, all right? And you add in some kids, all right? You're not going to have the energy to work on those projects like you used to. And now you start thinking about, man, how much time did I waste? You know what I'm saying? But now, you have the new life. So you got to kind of figure out how you can still be there for your family, but also do the things that you need to do to move forward with those projects that you're working on, with your purpose, asking God what your purpose, and your family is part of that purpose, believe it or not. Your family is a big part of that purpose. And so you have to figure out how to move forward with that new life. And to talk about the setup and going back and where I was talking about, I'm waiting now, for jobs to come my way, because if God want me to have it, He's going to send it. I was talking about my wife, she pretty much started looking for work. So of course she want to help out more. She want to do more, and she's doing a whole lot. She does a whole lot for our family. And then she also have these businesses that God is truly blessing. And I know this is her purpose. And so she gets a lot of jobs and opportunities, of course, in the pharmacy industry. But it's just a lot of these opportunities don't necessarily fit with our new dynamic when it comes to our new life, with our kids. Okay. It doesn't fit because she will find herself not being home most of the time because she's working, and that's usually how that industry works. Okay. And so when she always brings me these opportunities, I'm always wondering, okay, it's a nice opportunity, will it fit in what the way we have things, and the way we operate as a family? Would it fit within our unit? And so usually the case is no. And so I'm always going back to thinking, like, if God really wants you to have a position, a job, it's going to fit. It's not going to be any questions about it. It's going to be something you really desire to do. It's going to be something that don't even necessarily feels like work because you're passionate about it. And it's going to be so hard for you to say no. Okay. It's going to be so hard. It's going to be identical. When I receive this wonderful career that I'm doing now as an educator at Full Sail, I remember, I was working in career development. Awesome team, by the way, a really awesome team I was working with. I ended up coming across, I had the desire to move into education, and so many things inspired me about this. Of course, I had an education background. Wasn't trying to get in education originally because I just wanted to be a filmmaker, y'all. So, but I ended up seeing how Miss Viola Davis did it, and how I Get Away with Murder, the TV series, the awesome TV series that I used to I used to watch, excuse me. But just to see that, like to be an educator, to be a teacher and teaching something you're passionate about, and then to be able to work with your student on cases. And in my case, I was looking at being able to work with my students on films, and so I was just like, I want to do what she's doing. And it kind of took me back to when I originally found out I wanted to be an actor. My dad and I were watching a Denzel movie when I was probably, I think after my freshman year in high school. I was like, Dad, I want to do what he's doing. How can I do that? And that's when my dad was like, okay, we can talk to your guidance counselor, see if they can get you in the drama program, in the drama courses. And that's how that happened. That was the spark that I felt when I saw Viola Davis doing her thing in that series by Miss Shonda Rhimes, shout out. But yes, that show inspired me. It made me want to get into teaching. Just believe it or not, this show, with all the stuff, the crazy twists and turns, it inspired me to want to be an educator again, and to be able to continue to do what I'm doing for the production side. And so that was pretty much where I was in that season. I was just like, I want to be an educator. And so an opportunity just happened to pop up in this season that I'm going back and forth trying to figure out my next steps and what I want to do next. But this opportunity came about, and it was exactly me. So I took it to the leader, that my boss at the time, when I was working in the creative development department. I took it to my boss and just was trying to get her opinion about it and get her blessing, as we would say. And she said, Ron, this is you. You would be crazy not to go after this. It is you. It describes you. And I say all that to say, when opportunity comes that God wants you to have and it's for you, it's going to be for you. Like, look at that. And I'm still working that wonderful job now, today. And this is 8 years later. I'm still working 8+ years later. New beginnings, y'all. And so I say all that to say, like, if it's meant for you to have it, God is going to give it to you. All right. So just keep that in mind. All right. So the journey with the family, again, it can be totally different, when it comes to trying to stay on top of the things that you enjoy doing when it comes to creating. And so you have to find ways that you can still do those things around your family. And usually it's late at night. I mean, I'm here recording a podcast at 11:23 p.m. I'm still recording, you know what I'm saying? Because it's late at night and the house is quiet, all right? The kids are sleeping. So you have to still find ways that you can do the things that you enjoy, the things that God is leading you to do. You got to find ways to still enjoy it. Sometimes we can find a time during the day. Sometimes it has to be late at night or early in the morning. So either one of those will work. You just got to find what's best for you. All right. But letting go is my next point. You have to let it go. All right. And this is so hard to do. It's hard for me to do this, y'all. So I'm not just talking about y'all letting go. I'm talking about me too. I need to let things go. All right. I find when we let things go and trust God, he blows our mind every time. We find ourselves that, questioning like, hey, what were we stressing about? What were we worried about? Every time God allows us to see that he already had it taken care of. All right. There's no need for us to be worried. There's no need for us to be stressed. It's already taken care of. So we just got to learn to let it go and trust God at the end of the day. All right. Trust God. You have to learn how to trust God. That's the only way we're going to be able to get anywhere, and especially closer to our purpose that God has for our life. We have to learn how to let go and trust God. All right. So some quick questions for you before we wrap this up. What are you waiting on? So think about that. What are you waiting on? And how are you preparing in this setup moment, okay, that God has you in? So how are you preparing yourself? Because guess what? God can drop that blessing in tomorrow morning. He can drop it in right now. Are you going to be ready? All right. Are you going to be ready for it? And I kid y'all not, this topic came about because I've been in the waiting for my first feature film. Okay. And I always talk about this film. We're 8 years now, 8 years, you know, and I remember when I first started on this project, one of my colleagues, my amazing colleagues, was like, some films take 7 years, Ron, you know, and I'm just ready to go. I'm ready to go right then, thinking I'm ready. And that's what he said. Some films take 7 years, and we're past 7 years, y'all. I ain't want to believe it. I'm like, nah, this film ain't gonna take that long. But look, you know what I'm saying? But think about this. In that season of waiting, one, the script got better because did about 10 rewrites on the script now. But also I didn't know I was going to have a family, you know, before this film came out. Me and my wife were together, but we wasn't married yet. We don't got married. We don't have 3 kids. One of our children had to go through 4 procedures. All of this could have been easily in the way, you know, of what, you know, if that blessing would have came, I would have been distracted because I have so much going on. So God has the perfect time for you. You don't know what's coming up or what is on its way, but just trust God is going to make sure it's the perfect time. And that's what I'm leading on. All right. How long have you been waiting? Okay. So think about that. How long have you been waiting? And, you know, what have God shown you? What has God, shown you while you have been waiting that you can hold on to? Okay. All right. Next question. Have you talked to God about it? You know, sometimes we struggle to talk to God about things. All right. I know I do. Like, should I be asking for this? Am I worthy to even ask for this? All the crap I've been going through and doing. So have you talked to God about it? You know, God wants you to talk about it. He already know what you need. He knows your heart. He created you. So he's just waiting for you to have that conversation with him. And I'm talking to myself too. I need to talk more about some of the things that I'm waiting on. All right. Has God given you an answer or a sign yet? And I put sign in this because God does give us signs all the time. I was having one of those days today, and I'm just like, man, you know, I'm just feeling, in a sense, I'm happy, but I'm feeling a little blah just about my struggles in life and things that I've been going through. And on my way to rehearsal this evening, you know, for the show that I was telling you about, I happened to look up, and a couple situations happened to make me take this route. I'm on pretty much the 408 highway here in Orlando. I went to one location, found out it was supposed to be at another location. I was trying to go to a store, found out that store wasn't open at the moment. So I'm getting all these like red flags. I'm like, what's going on, you know? And so when I'm redirected to go to this other location, instead of taking the tolls, I was like, I'll just take the long way around, you know, I'll just get there when I get there. And then the light, you know, in front of me turned red again before I could get through, and it's just full of cars. And so it made me just like, I'm just going to just go ahead and take the toll road so I can get out of here. I'm just ready to get there and be done. And so I get on the toll road and I'm just driving. And of course, in my mind, just kind of, you know, dealing through my thoughts and everything that's been going on. And I happen to look up, and it's sunny. It's bright sunny out. And I see a rainbow in the sky. And I'm just like, wait. And it's just, you can barely see it. Like, you just really, if you're not looking and you're not noticing the colors, you could miss it. And God allowed me to see it in that moment. And I just, kid you not, I just got so emotional in that moment. But that just reminded me, you know, when you see those type of things, you think about God's promises. And so in that moment, I thought about God promises. And God has always been showing us these signs when we're maybe we're down or worried about what the future holds, or when we're on the right track. And so in this moment, I'm just like, wow, God, thank you. You know, thank you for showing me that. And thank you for being faithful to me, even in the midst of my storms. And so that was a sign for me today. You know what I'm saying? So has God answered you yet? You know, has he showed you a sign? And we can see sign through numbers. I see sign through animals. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have oftentimes when we are getting ready to prepare for another season, God is getting us ready for it. He want to remind us we're on the right track. We have a hawk that always visits and sits right on our fence. And sometimes we see this hawk or a hawk. It can be any type of hawk, but it feels like it's the same one. following us around, even on while we're out driving. Sometimes we'll see a hawk flying over. And so these are, to me, these are like signs, almost like angels that are just letting us know that we're on the right track, that God is with us, just to remind us that. And so think about that. Has God showed you any signs that you can think about? All right. What can you be doing to prepare yourself while you wait? All right. So we talk about this setup, all right, that we're in. What can you be doing to prepare yourself? A lot of us can be working on our health, getting our health ready, because depending on the project, hey, you're going to need that health to be in order, right? Just so you'll have the strength to push through. And so what can you be doing to prepare yourself? Spending a quality time with your family, doing some more writing. You know what I'm saying? Me, I'm doing podcasts, shows to inspire the world. And so I'm trying to do more of this while I'm in my waiting. Okay. So this is part of me. God is setting me up, as you see, because one, when that blessing comes and I'm able to move forward, I'm already have this, in my life where I'm motivating, I'm teaching, and I'm doing all these great things that I'm already doing. This is me in my waiting and being set up for the future. All right. And for that ultimate purpose God has for my life. All right. So he's preparing me in this and all of this that I'm doing, just being here talking. I remember when I first wanted to start this podcast, I was a little nervous. You know what I'm saying? I'll be honest. I was a lot of nervous, not a little. But now I can just get on the mic and talk. And every episode, I'm writing these scripts down, y'all. And I'm just like, okay, got my points. Okay, is this going to last long enough, I wonder? But look how long I've been talking. We are over an hour now. I'm just like, how did this go over an hour already? I know. I'm trying to wrap it up. I am. All right. Let's see. What is my next question for you before we wrap it up? What can you reflect on to give you courage to hold on? All right. What can you reflect on to give you courage in this season? And so it says it in the word too. Don't quote me. I don't remember exactly where. I do be reading my word, but I don't remember exactly where. But it is something in the word that says, whatever is good, think of those thoughts. And so oftentimes we have so many crazy things going on around us. And I mean, the world we live in, they live on I want to say stress, but they live on fear. They live on putting fear into our lives, and they do it through the media. They do it through news. Everywhere you look, it's something going on. And so we need to find things that we can hold on to remind us of the good things in our lives. And finding those DVDs, those plays that I did in college, that was something great in this season that I could hold on and just remember and reflect like, wow, back then, I wonder what God is working on next, you know what I'm saying, for my career. All right. So if God ended the wait today, would you be ready? All right. My final question, if God ended the wait today, would you be ready? I said that, right? Like the wait can be over tomorrow, y'all. You can go to sleep and wake up as a new person. So would you be ready? And to talk about the film Downhill, I got to this point where I was asking myself this question. Would I be ready if God say, here's the funds to produce the film, go fly, go do what you need to do? Would I be ready? And I kid you not, I got a little nervous because I'm like, whew, you already know what comes with that, Ron. You did a few short films now, but the features are a whole different level, but you already know what comes with that. So I have to prepare myself mentally. I have to prepare myself spiritually. I have to prepare myself physically. So I will be ready. All right. We want things so bad and we want it so quickly, but God wants us to be ready. Okay. And he's setting you up for that moment that he's going to allow those blessings to fall into place. You just got to hold on. You just got to trust God, and you got to just wait on him. All right. I hope this podcast bless you as it blessed me. All right. Praise God always. Blessings.